getting to tune into Kenya News Alert TV, Channel 7 News East Africa, and Channel 7 Global, where we bring you unbiased political discussions here in our political table every day. My name is Emmanuel Bosire, and today, as we have been waiting for a long period of time, the report for bipartisan talks that has been taking time to be written, it's coming to an end today. And you're going to expect a full report on what had been suggested and what had been acted upon from tomorrow going forward. And as that comes to the end, Kenyans are eagerly waiting as just what has been in that report. Many have given rumors that there's going to be a creation of new offices. Rumors have it that after the bipartisan talks, the Azimio coalition might move out of that talks, and they say that the bipartisan talks were not meant to benefit the local mwananchi, and many more that we're going to discuss. Now, today, in our key takeaway in this evening discussion, we have a takeaway of what President William Ruto did and said today at Arusha in Tanzania, where the East African Community has been meeting with all the heads of states from the 10 members of East African Community, giving suggestions of what should be done as a region from East African, whereby we are able to depend ourselves, and especially in matters dealing with international communities, talking about climate financing, talking about climate change, and talking about the unity of we people of East Africa, and more importantly, on our social life and how we can be able to depend on ourselves. Also on key takeaway, we have the Meru MCAs again coming up and giving hints on what they need as a caretaker, someone who shall stand as a caretaker as they plan to dissolve Meru County Assembly so that they wait for another election depending on what the national IEBC will give in the parliament together with the state house and having the next election. And another key takeaway we have today, we've seen all the Azimio leaders, especially those from Nyanza region, taking the December holiday and to Lake Victoria, where they have having boat ride, and the lake sports, whereby the Azimio leader Raila Odinga has been seen taking part and guiding other Azimio leaders in enjoying the sports. And perhaps the last takeaway that we have from our discussion today is to ask you, what is your opinion, especially on the El Nino floods and what's happening all over our counties and all over what we sing. Thank you for tuning in Kenya News Alert TV together with Channel 7 News East Africa, where we remind and bring unbiased political discussions that are helping us as a country to move forward, making better decisions. Now we're starting off with the Meru MCAs. We want to listen to what they have said in the past, what they've said even at the moment, and what is in their minds regarding to what they want. Remember, there are two attempts that have been made by the same MCAs from county wanting the Meru governor, who is Kawira Mwangaza. I want to believe everyone knows about her, that she wants to be impeached. And then the first attempt did not materialize. The second attempt did not materialize. And even as they continue with that, the Meru MCAs have come up with a new game plan to see Kawira Mwangaza impeached. And what they want to suggest is that the president will listen to them. And after listening to them with the Senate, they dissolve Meru County Assembly, but not leaving it such empty, but leaving it in with a caretaker. And when you experience such caretakers coming in, it is suggesting about a metropolitan facility. So they are terming it to be Meru Metropolitan. That's going to stand as a caretaker for Meru County administration, that here there's no MCA, there's no senator, or there's no governor, but all the functions of Meru County will keep moving on. The recurring expenditure will be given out. The people will be employed, those who will be paid, all the projects that are going to be ongoing, but under the administration of a new caretaker, not Kawira Mwangaza. And then they're also blaming her for having taken more time after coming out of the attempted impeachment, thanking the people and even praising God. But she went ahead to look for signatures that want to see Meru County dissolved. I don't know what comes to your mind, but this gives us a hint that for sure there's someone who is behind Meru County for this politics. And now that politics have taken the center stage, we want to see what will happen. Now, this is a tip of what the Meru MCAs have been saying, and after we listen to this, we come back and continue.
Asante. Kwa majina naitwa Kiogora DMK, MCA wa Bogeta West na Minority Whip kwa County Assembly ya Meru. Asubuhi ya leo tumepokea hoja kutoka kwa wananchi ambayo inataka County ya Meru ipeanwe kwa Meru Metropolitan Services. Na tutaenda kwa wananchi kwa sababu gavana yeye ameenda sasa kufanya kazi ya kukusanya signatures, afanyie wananchi kazi tena. Sasa sisi tunataka kuunga ile hoja mkono, sahihi zikusanywe tupelekee rais. Gavana akikusanya sahihi zake na commission maalum kuundwa kukuja kuangalia masuala ya Meru, commission ile Meru Metropolitan Service iweze kuwa ikiendeleza kazi ya Meru. Gavana na yeye aendeleze maneno ya kukusanya sahihi za kumpeleka nyumbani. Hayo mambo yote yataenda kwa pamoja, na pia sisi tutaunga ule mkono ya kwamba rais aunde Meru Metropolitan Services, na sisi tutawafanyia bajeti, tutafanya na wao kazi. Gavana na yeye akae pale akiwa ceremony akingojea uchaguzi wa kumpeleka nyumbani. Kwa hivyo tunaomba tukikuja kule kuchukua zile sahihi za Meru Metropolitan Services, wananchi wa Meru watuunge mkono pia sisi tukisupport wale wanaotaka serikali ya county iweze kusimamiwa na Meru Metropolitan Service, ambayo tunatarajia rais atatupea gavana akingojea uchaguzi mwaka wa 2025 ama ambapo IBC itaweza kuundwa, kwa sababu hivi sasa hatuna IBC. Wacha Meru Metropolitan Services waendelee na kazi ya kuongoza county. Tumetoka kwa Ndebe. Sisi wengine tumeface Ndebe 3 times. Nominations, tumeenda nominations tukashinda, tumeenda kwa elections tukashinda. Ya kwamba hakuna yule mtu wako hapa ambaye anaogopa. Unaogopa Ndebe, na hata ukiogopa 2027 utaingia tena kwa Ndebe. So either Ndebe ikuja 2025 ama ikuja 2027, sisi tuko tayari. Ama iletwe leo, ama iletwe hapa assembly, ama iletwe hata next month, sisi tuko tayari kwenda kwa Ndebe. Na hatuna uoga wowote kwa sababu sisi ni wanasiasa na tunaelewa watu wetu vizuri na wanatuelewa. Na wakati hata tulileta impeachment tulifanya public participation na walijitokeza kwa wingi. Na wakatuunga mkono, wakatuambia tuondoleeni huyo mama ambaye ni kiongozi wa county. Walitupea hiyo ruhusa, hatukufanya maneno yetu kivyetu. Ya kwamba tuko na wao hata saa hii na tunajua huzuni ambayo wako nayo kuona ubadhilifu unaoendelea katika county ya Meru. Na sisi hatuna uoga wowote wa kwenda kwa debe. Wananchi ni wale waliotuchagua na watatuchagua tena. Na wanaelewa ya kwamba ni mtu mmoja tu amejitoa, hawezi fanya kazi na mtu yeyote. Huwezi kuwa wewe ndiye uko right, wengine wote wako wrong. MPs wote wako wrong, MCA wako wrong, wewe ndiye uko right peke yako. Hivyo uchaguzi ukiitishwa, tuko na uhakika atakayeenda nyumbani ni gavana wa Meru County, Kawira Mwangaza. Na hiyo kazi tutafanya bila uoga wowote wa kumpeleka nyumbani. Kwa hivyo asifikirie sasa ati kwa sababu amerudi hapa Meru atakuja sasa kututishia ama kufanya mambo kama yale. Sisi tutafanya kazi yetu, hatuna shida yoyote. Tumepewa kazi 3 na katiba: representation, oversight na kupitisha sheria. Na hakuna kazi na hakuna sheria zilizolala hapa, na hakuna mambo ambayo sisi hatujafanya. Sisi hatutafanya kazi na gavana wa Meru County. Yeye tukiwa tumeenda kwa ziara ya kikazi kidogo nje ya county, ni alianza kukusanya sahihi za kususpend county. Yeye ndiye amehapa kutofanya kazi na sisi. Sisi hatujahapa kutofanya kazi na gavana. Na kazi yetu haihusu gavana kwa vyovyote vile, na hakuna kitu ameleta hapa tukakataa kupitisha kama bunge. Kwa hivyo ni kazi gani hiyo ametupatia sisi kama MCAs tukakataa kufanya? Sisi tuko hapa assembly, tunafanya kazi yetu assembly. So hatujamzuia kufanya kazi kwa vyovyote vile. Hatuna nia yote mbaya kwake kufanya kazi. Kwa hivyo afanye kazi yake, sisi tufanye yetu kwa njia ya heshima, na hatuna shida yote na gavana wetu.
My name is Aurelio Murangeri Kiramana, the MCA for Mudhara Ward. Unfortunately, when we came from the Senate, the directives were for the leaders to sit down and have a direction for the county and work for the people. Unfortunately, the governor decided to take a different route. She decided that the best route to take is to dissolve the county government, of which we are not afraid. If that is what it will take for Meru to be saved, if that is what it will take for the Merians to get the services that they really require, so be it. We are ready to go down that road. But before we go down that road, we are requesting the national government through the presidency that today we are in receipt of a petition from members of the public in Meru requesting that let there be a Meru Metropolitan Services or a caretaker body that will take care of the services, or one that will render services to the members of the Meru County, the citizenry, and we are in support of that. And as my colleague said, DMK, that starting from next week or later this week, we'll be rolling out that activity or agenda of signatures so that they can petition the president to have a caretaker body to take care of our county in terms of services that need to be rendered before the quagmire that is in Meru County can be resolved, since the chief executive officer or person in charge of Meru County is not ready to resolve those services. It might take us up to 2 years before this county is dissolved and before we go back to the elections. But before that time, and since politicking has taken a center stage, we are praying to our president that let there be a caretaker body to ensure that services are rendered in Meru County and the Meru County residents don't suffer. So we want to say and categorically state this, that if and only if the governor is willing to pursue peace, and peace that will come from the bottom of her heart, not saying sorry on cameras and the next day starting a signature or an initiative to collect signatures to dissolve the county without even sitting down with the same people she was telling sorry on the camera. We need people to be genuine to themselves, to God that they pray, and even to the citizenry that elected them. These members are pained by the actions that are being taken in this county, and unfortunately, if it is only dissolution that will help Meru County to get the right leadership, then we as the members of the county assembly say, so be it. Thank you.
Jina langu ni Julius Miriti Kaimbo, nawakilisha wakaaji wa Mikidori. Ni mambo ya Metropolitan Services. Tungeomba zije kwa sababu kuna qualification ya kufanya kazi. Na hapa Meru County tuna shida na qualification. Sisi kama sisi hatujasoma, tumesoma, najua tumesoma, tuna watu wamefaulu, lakini hawapewi nafasi ya kufanya kazi. Tunajipata sheria hatufuati. Sasa kuchukua signatures na kuna IBC. Si ni kwa kutoelewa sheria. Sasa sisi tunangoja hiyo signatures ikuje wavunje bunge. Hatuogopi kura. Tulipigiwa kura na wingi tukapita. Na hata sasa tunangoja. Na wale walitupigia kura wana imani na sisi. Mwaka mmoja peke yake tumefanya kazi nzuri na tunajua ataturudisha ndani. Lakini mimi nawafia ngava anaweza peleka nyumbani na hizi za hii anaweka. Kwa sababu yeye ajui wale watu wanaziweka wamelipwa tu wafanye kazi ya kutia sahihi. Na tunajua wakiambiwa pia kura ataenda nyumbani ya kwa kwanza. Anjionee huruma kabla sisi tumuonee huruma. Asante.
Now, there's a hint or a tip on what the Meru MCS or the Meru County Assemblies members of Assembly want to be done with their current governor, Kawira Mwangaza, after having not decided fully to give up or to give in stopping the impeachment process. One of the things that they want for them to be done is the provision of a caretaker. This caretaker is a metropolitan services. If we recall about Nairobi County Administration, especially under Mike Mbuvi Sonko, what happened after his impeachment? Nairobi County government did not stop functioning. All the activities of the county administration kept on moving until we came to vote in 2022. So the interim administration that's put in to take care for the county administration is the one known as a caretaker and referred as a metropolitan services. Now this one, in most cases, they are unbiased or they don't have political grounds because they have not been elected in by a majority or by ballot box which our current constitution gives us in democracy. Now, bringing in a metropolitan service, it takes time, or it takes also sides. People will take sides. There are those who want metropolitan services to be put in place as what the MCs are terming, as they give Kawira Mwangaza room, either for a re-election or for this dismissal of Meru County, so that they go for a re-election after 3 months, or a period that the IEBC will be ready to prepare and have that election. And one of the things that the MCAs are saying is that Kawira Mwangaza, she's not honest, and claiming about gross violation of office and other constitution laws. We will want to see what will happen, but whatever unfolds, we also come here at Kenya News, Alert TV, Channel 7 News East Africa, and sit again and discuss and tell you what are the possible formations that we take. And even so, there are others who will not want the metropolitan services to be put in place, for there are those who believe that there could be a hidden agenda behind what's happening in Meru County administration. Now, all that aside, we have another key takeaway that we have told you that's going on. And the East African community has taken Kenya to be one of the superpowers in this small community. And as just we have superpowers in the world, whereby United States is considered to be a superpower in the world, and maybe in South African communities, South Africa is considered to be a superpower, and we have West African community where Nigeria is considered. Talk about the North Africa, we consider Egypt. Now, there are meetings that are happening all over the world, and what they are discussing majorly is about climate action, climate change, or climate financing. All these have taken pains for the heads of states to discuss them wherever they go. Now, the East African community today met in Arusha, that's in Tanzania, whereby our country, Kenya, was represented by our president, President William Ruto, as it has been in most cases. And today, giving his remarks of what we need to do as a community, East African community, whereby we should look for means as a community to remain independent in most things, to look for a way whereby life and the cost of living to our members from East African communities will increase, and even the poverty ratio to decrease, and even that of a high unemployment to decrease, so that people from this community will be able to do business, be able to feel at home, and even to avoid brain drain, where majority of our people are being transported, or they willingly transfer their citizenship from our countries to other developed countries. Now, I want to have a tip of what he spoke, and we come back and discuss what he said.
When we had the Africa Climate Summit, the biggest conversation that was in that climate summit is about climate finance. And it comes in different ways. Many of our economies, many of our countries are struggling because of the effects of climate change. Many countries are spending more mitigating the effects of climate change, whether it is drought, whether it is floods, whether it is mudslides. We're spending more money managing the effects of climate change than on health or food security. And to be able to manage the balance between what you are spending on climate change and what you are spending on social service, it is necessary for us to work on climate financing. How do we reform the international financial architecture that was fashioned before the advent of climate change? If you are going to use the same instruments that we have used, the same financial instruments that we have used designed for a different purpose at a different time, we will not be able to manage the competing financial requirements of our budgets, especially in the context of what we have to spend on managing climate change. It is true that you cannot allow the illegal, unfettered use of forest resources if you indeed want to grow your forest cover. And fortunately for us, many of the forest areas are in our water towers. So as you are aware, we are fencing off Aberdares, we are fencing off Mount Kenya. We're now in the process of putting a fence in Mau, and we have a whole program of making sure that we protect our forest areas by fencing as a measure against illegal logging. And to achieve that, we just authorized additional forest rangers. 1,500 forest rangers have just graduated to make sure that we have adequate human capital to protect the forest cover that we have. We are also increasing the number of those joining our National Youth Service. You heard me announce last month that we're going to increase our enrollment into the National Youth Service, and we are going to convert some of them into the Green Army that is going to engage in making sure that we don't just plant trees, but we grow trees. Many times it's easy to plant, but it is difficult to see them through maturity. So we are adopting this process as a mechanism of ensuring that our commitment to planting 15,000 trees is not about planting, it's about growing 15 billion trees. And as we grow the 15 billion, we must protect what we already have. And we have put in place mechanisms to make sure that that happens. So sometimes we are not sure whether we need rain or we need water. And I think the question is, we need water. And sometimes we confuse the two. Kenya, for example, is 80% arid and semi-arid. Therefore, we don't have much of rain, but I bet you we have enough water. And so we have decided as a country that we need to make sure that our water towers, our wetlands are protected so that we can use them to collect, harvest, store enough water to assist us manage our food security requirements. And it is the reason why we made a conscious decision that we are going to plant 15 billion trees to protect our wetlands and to protect our water towers. Accompanying the restoration of our water towers and wetlands is a subject of soil health. Of course, as you are aware, degraded lands leads to soil erosion, leads to soil degradation, and therefore restoring these wetlands and water towers also speaks to soil health. In the first 1 year, we are planting 500 million trees, and we are nurturing 1 billion seedlings for the next year. The next item is water harvesting. We're building 100 mega dams because we realize that we need water. So whenever we have rain, we should collect as much of it as is possible. And that will speak to what our brothers and sisters in Tanzania are doing, increasing production under irrigation. our plan is to increase land under irrigation from 600,000 acres to 2 million acres. It is our belief that by so doing, we will not only deal with the challenges accompanying climate change, but we will also enhance our food security.
And now, you've heard the tips or the speech that the President William Ruto gave today in Arusha, Tanzania, whereby the East African Community Heads of States are meeting to represent our countries on key development projects, and one main that was being discussed today is all about climate change and climate financing. You've heard him talk much about the increase of land under irrigation to be increased from 600 acres to about 2,000 acres, so as to increase the land in our country, Kenya, that receives water. Talking about our country, where much or 80% of our country is all about semi-arid as a country. So he has given suggestions on planting of about 1 billion, 15 billion trees, and even nurturing more of 1 billion seedlings so as to increase. You've heard him talk about the increase of the enrollment of the National Youth Service youths who are enrolling for key development trainings, and even encouraging them to be moved to Green Army that will be taking care of our country's environment. Also, you have talked about the fencing program for our country, for the forests that we have. So all the forests that we have, including the Mau forest and all the forests that we have, they are all going to be fenced so as to ensure that the poachers and all those who come to destroy forests, and even to decrease chances of having forest fires and other calamities, that reduces our area that is covered by trees. Talking about also the challenges that have been facing our countries, including those of financing projects that are for climate change instead of other key development projects, calling upon the unity of the East African community so as to come together and to see what unity can bring of purpose, and even improving our lives. So even as this discussion continues on, Tanzanian president also came up and gave her solutions, or what she believes as the head of state for Tanzania. I remember in the few years ago, 2 or 3, Tanzania has been rising beyond what we expected or what has been seen. Business has been favorable, and many others have referred Tanzania to be one of the growing countries in East African. Not that extent of Kenyan, but by other things, they are superseding us, especially in environment. We've seen all about the fuel prices that are affordable in Tanzania. We've seen a lot of investors who've left our country going to Tanzania to invest there because of good political stability. They don't have demonstrations as we have seen in our country, and their political stability always has favored business investors. Now, we want to have a hint of what she spoke today, and then we will come back and continue with our discussion here at Kenya News Alert TV and Channel 7 News East Africa.
Mimi nataka niungane na ndugu wangu Ruto climate financing, lakini nadhani it's high time sisi wa Afrika tuache kutegemea sana wengine kwenye climate financing. Nadhani tuje na strategies, mbinu ambazo tutakuwa na mifuko yetu wenyewe ya climate financing, kwa sababu kutegemea wengine tunacheleweshwa. Sasa hivi tuko COP28, lakini ahadi zilitolewa kwenye makopu ya nyuma huko, lakini mpaka leo fedha haijatoka. So it's high time tujitambue wa Afrika, tuangalie means and sources of our own climate funding na zile national determined contribution, basi twende tukazitekeleze ipasavyo. Asante. Sasa sisi Tanzania tulikuja na mkakati wa climate smart agriculture na green energy, na mkakati ulikuwa una mambo matano. La kwanza likuwa ni kuongeza uzalishaji, na katika kuongeza uzalishaji kwenye mazao ya kilimo, na tulibaini kwamba kwenye kilimo sasa hivi tumefikia hatua kwamba Tanzania haina mazao ya biashara mbali na mazao ya chakula mbali. Mazao yote ni mazao ya biashara. Amesema keynote speaker kwamba Tanzania sasa tunasafirisha mchele kwenda kwenye supermarkets za Ulaya, lakini parachichi, lakini pia horticulture products Tanzania tunasafirisha sana kwenda nje. Tumekuja na agenda ya 1030, na hii maana yake ni kwamba inapofika mwaka 2030 Tanzania tuwe tumeikuza sekta ya kilimo kwa 10%, kutoka sasa 4% tufike 10%. Sasa katika hayo kuna mambo mengi tumejipanga nayo. La kwanza ni kutoa vivutio vya kifedha, vivutio vya kikodi kwa private sector waweze kuingia kwenye shughuli ya kilimo. Tumetoa 100% ya capital allowance, lakini pia tumesamehe waive import duty and VAT exemptions katika masuala haya ya kilimo. Tumesamehe kodi katika equipment au vifaa vya kilimo, vifaa vyote kama farm machineries, lakini vifaa vitakavyotumika kwenye kutengeneza irrigation schemes, vifaa vitakavyotumika kwenye value addition, vyote hivyo tunakwenda kusamehe kodi. Lakini vile vile vifaa vitakavyotumika kwenye green renewable energies, na venyewe pia tuna consideration ya kusamehe kodi. Yote hii tunalenga kupunguza gharama za uwekezaji katika climate smart agriculture, lakini pia uzalishaji wa nishati safi au green energy.
Now, you've heard her talk about decreasing as the government the requirements that are needed by investors who are coming to Tanzania. It's a challenge to us as a country is East African. You know, in the last 2 or 3 years, Tanzania is growing at a high rate that if we as a country don't take care, very soon they might supersede us and become the new kingpins from East African community. Now, she's also talked about what Tanzania as a country is able to export. Talk about the rice that they are able to produce and even export to countries all over the globe, all the continents in the world. Something that is increasing the business money that's coming in as revenue to the Tanzanian people. She has also talked about some of the few challenges that they are facing, including the long delayed money disbursement that comes from the IMF and the World Bank and even the United States. So when these countries come maybe to Africa, they promise that we're going to give you this amount of money that we're going to use as a country to try and see how to solve challenges in climate change. But this money takes long to be disbursed into the African countries' accounts. And this, she's given us suggestions that we as members of East African community need to look for means and ways that we are able to become dependent and even depend on ourselves without waiting support from other countries, especially the superpowers and the IMF and the World Bank disbursement that always comes too late. Now, leaving all that about the East African community, we come back to our country, Kenya, where the politics of Azimio, Kenya, One Kenya coalition took their December holiday first to Lake Victoria. We know that Lake Victoria comes in western parts of our country, in Nyanza, headed by Raila Amolo Odinga. We saw the likes of Siaya Governor governors from Nyanza region, many politicians who took to Lake Victoria, sports and bull riding event that took and led by Raila Odinga. In it, suggestions were given as one way that Raila is coming close to his people. You know, this is his region, and as one way to come together with it, he has to look for ways on how to mingle and meet and greet the people who've supported his political career for long. Not only him, but Odinga's family. We remember his father, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, almost became the president of our country, became the vice president, and we've seen his son, Raila Amolo Odinga, growing up his political career for long, and even his highest rank was becoming a prime minister for a country in 2008, where we had Serikali Mkate. Now here today, the leaders from Azimio who met as one way of relaxing from politics. They also had to do some politics. Now I want to have a look on how they enjoyed and even how they came close. And even as you continue seeing this video, I want to say thank you for tuning in Kenya News Alert TV, and news where we bring unbiased political discussions. I am your moderator. My name is Bosire. We say until next time, continue watching and even subscribing. Give us a like and a comment about our political views that we bring, that they are unbiased, they are going to help our country improve in policy making and even part of public participation. Thank you.
Huyu ana la jacket tutoe. Agomio jo kijaboro. Hawana la jacket. Magijio chiko moja abiria. Ya disqualify kosa. Wadi. They are 9 against 7, cannot. Yeah, cannot. 9 against 7, no. It's too late. Out. It is the standard rule. The standard rule has been followed. Would have been done there. Wait! Out! Wewe toka na yule pia toke. Ana la jacket ule. Wewe toka wewe. Chuo kanye toka nje. Go out. Wewe akidi. Okay, sawa. Kiombo to kidao. Sawa, okay. Yuradia kataka kiombo to. Madam, the standard is 7. Yeah, it's okay. But they can't win. They already red carded. They
Diciamo te ne
Watu watano